So you're not going to answer the question if you're running. But
I'd love to, but I can't. I'm not allowed to legally. Okay. If I said it, it has a whole. It's ridiculous.
What would you do thinking through this? You surprised me one night with an answer. I asked you, what would you do differently? And you said, I'd stop fighting with the media because they're corrupt and a waste of my time. Did you really mean that? You would stop fighting with the media?
Well, I think I fight with them a lot less. I mean, I believe the term fake news emanated from me.
I think it's branded right across tattooed into their foreheads.
I think I've explained that.
Yeah.
If I didn't fight, my presidency would have been a failure and the country would have been way, way down. You have to...
No, not the fighting on policy, but what about the...
I'd love to be able to get along with the media. I respect many people in the media, you a lot.
Thank you.
When you see Pulitzer Prizes going to people that got Russia totally wrong.
I got it right.
And you got it right, and John Solomon got it right, and Sarah got it right. And
Greg Jarrett.
Greg Jarrett's
Everybody.
Incredible.
Yeah.
There are some people that got it right that should be rewarded, but you can't reward the people that got it wrong. Exactly the opposite.
So you talk to them. My question is, when you think back, do you have any regrets? Do you wish, why the hell did I do that? Why didn't I do that? You ever think about that?
So you always have regrets, but my biggest regrets are people. When I went to Washington, I was only there 17 times, I've told you this, and I never stayed overnight. So I wasn't into that whole world of the Washington, D.C. society. I was from New York. I knew everybody in New York. Now I know everybody, and I know the good ones, the bad ones, the weak ones, the strong ones.
Do you think you would be better because your team and the people around you would be better and stronger?
I think so. I know so, but we also had great people. Don't forget, I rebuilt our military. We knocked out 100% of ISIS. We did things that people don't even talk about. There's so many. We did over 1,000 things, right to try, where you're able to try drugs that won't be approved for another 5 years if you're terminally ill. That was a big thing. Israel.
I've met people whose lives were saved.
Yeah, look at Jerusalem, the capital of Israel.
Abraham Accords.
Right, the Abraham Accords.
You moved the...
We did so much. But the big thing is people. I could have had a couple of choices, a few choices, maybe even more than a few choices, that I wouldn't have put a certain person there. Government is largely people. Now I know everybody. I know the good ones and I know the bad ones.
Today was a day where your family was impacted directly. Your children, who I know all of them really well, and I've known them for a lot of years. Anytime I went to interview you, before you ever thought about really running for president, you always introduced me. They're all nice. They're all great kids. All of them.
They are great kids.
And I've met Barron, who's a great kid.
Great.
And, I've watched now, you watch what happened to them today and what they've all had to go through and all the depositions and all the legal stuff that goes on. Do you worry about putting other people, what Melania had to go through and Barron had to go through, do you worry about putting them back in that situation? In other words, I'm going to put it nicely, you're a golfer.
Yeah.
Why don't you just play golf? Why would you want to give up a great life and go back to that hellhole?
Because I love the country, and we were so close. Before COVID came in, we had a country like never in history. We were going up, and even with that, I saw your friend Laura the other night do a show on the numbers, the tremendous numbers with COVID. And again, when it came, nobody knew what it was. Yeah. It was China's gift to us, okay? A horrible gift. But even with COVID, my numbers are better than anybody's numbers in decades. You could add Bush and Obama together. Forget Biden, because look, his stock market now is lower than where mine was, and you're talking about 2 years later.
You think
my stock market hit a record. Even after COVID, when I handed it off, if you call it a handoff, my stock market was higher than it was the day before COVID came in. I mean, we did an amazing job.
So, final question, and you gave us a lot of time. Thank you. So,
you think Biden would give you this much time?
No, I don't
think he'd be answering.
You want to know my honest answer? I don't even think he knows today's Wednesday. That's my honest answer. I say it regularly.
I hope he does. For the sake of this country, I hope he does.
It's very gracious. I should tell a story about one time you requested that I go easier on him. He did say that to me. He thought I was being a little too flippant.
I think that it was too tough. I thought you were very tough, and I thought it was too tough. And I will say this, Forget politics and the Republican and the Democrat stuff and the radical lefts and everything else. I want somebody that's a great leader. I want somebody that can stand toe-to-toe with President Xi of China. You can go, I said this the other day, you could go all over Hollywood and try and get somebody to play the role of President Xi, the president of China. There is no actor like that. There's nobody like that. These are fierce people. He's a fierce man. I was a very good friend of his until COVID came in. Then I gave him up. I said, this is too much. Yeah. You know, I made a unbelievable trade deal with China. I made an unbelievable trade deal, getting rid of NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made, and replacing it with the USMCA, that now Mexico and Canada want to renegotiate because the deal is so good. We did unbelievable things, but we need our sharpest people, because people like President Xi, like Macron, like I could name so many of them, like Putin, but of course right now he's having a different kind of a spell. But let me tell you, these are fierce people. They're smart, they're tough, they don't know about losing. Putin's having a hard time. And be very careful what's happening. He's being handled incorrectly. But these are very strong, smart people. And beyond Republican or Democrat, I want to see somebody that's great.
You want Joe Biden to succeed?
I would rather have him succeed incredibly, even if it meant a much tougher and maybe even a loss. I want to see what's good for the country. If I had my choice of having this mess that we're having there right now, this country is a mess. This country's not going to survive. The way it's going right now, it's not going to survive.
So you'd be willing to go through all the hell that we talked about today and all that you've been through all these 6 years because you put your country first. Is this a calling for you?
I put the country first, yeah. I mean, it's... I had you knew me long before I ran for politics. I had one of the great lives. I had the greatest places in the world. I had the greatest...
Everybody should live your life.
No, the most incredible
But you worked
life.
hard, yeah.
You know, it's very funny. I was heading into a big event at the convention center, Robin Hood. You know what Robin Hood is? Yep. Tremendous numbers, like 4,000 or 5,000 people. And half the people were cheering wildly, and half the people were booing. I had just announced that I was running. My wife looked at me, Melania, she said, "Do you know, darling, nobody's ever booed? I've never heard anybody booing you before." I said, welcome to the world of politics, right?
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.